Hey everybody, this is Roberta Eastman from Home Buyers Inventory. Thank you so much for joining us today so that we can get your questions answered. This question, again, it comes over a lot because people get confused when they see rent-to-own, lease option. They think it's, maybe just a regular rental, or they think they have to go to closing with an attorney to get into a rent-to-own home. And go through the whole mortgage process. That mortgage process and closing happens later. But the question we want to answer that we get from our viewers is, what is the content in the rent-to-own agreement that we sign when we go to the attorney and sign just our rental agreement and just our lease option paperwork? Very different from a closing when you go to a bank and get a mortgage. So that's the question we're going to answer today. What is the content of a rent-to-own agreement? So a rent-to-own agreement, also known as lease-to-own, lease option, is a written document between two parties, us who own the home and the property, and the tenant or the potential buyer. The agreement details the arrangement between the parties to lease the property, while also granting the tenant the option to purchase the property at the end of the lease term. So here are some details that are included in a rent-to-own agreement. Seller, who is us, the name and address of the party who owns the property. The tenant buyer, the name and address of the party who is leasing the property and obtaining the option to purchase. The property is the address and the legal description of the property. Rent payments. Now, this is the amount of the monthly rent payments and any late fees. Your rent term is the beginning and the end dates of the lease term. So that's the rental agreement and the rental terms, right? You start renting on this and your lease ends on this date. Then in the addition to the rental agreement, you have the option to purchase, a specific grant to the tenant of an option to purchase the property. Now, for us, the specific grant to the tenant of an option to purchase the property, this actually is guaranteed to you and it is exclusive to you. And that is different on our paperwork than any others that we have seen. You are the exclusive person who can purchase this property for the term that we agree on at the beginning of this whole transaction and relationship that we're building together. You're guaranteed that purchase price for that entire term, and you're guaranteed to be the only exclusive person who can buy or have the option to purchase the property. In our case, your rent is also guaranteed for that time period. But most important is the exclusive language in your paperwork that says you're the only one who has the option to buy it from this time to this time. Then the purchase price is the purchase price the tenant will have to pay if he or she purchases the property. And you have a set time to do that in, right? You have a long term. You can buy it any time between 1 year up to sometimes as long as 2.5 years. Now you have a lease option fee. That's the amount the tenant is paying for the option, showing the tenant's good faith intention to purchase the property. In our case, with our lease option fees, that goes towards your purchase price if you execute your option. If you choose not to execute your option, then that is non-refundable. This allows the tenant to have a purchase price reflecting today's value of the home. However, you don't have to purchase the home, again, until between 1 year and the end of our guaranteed term. That's a huge advantage, giving the tenant the time that they need, right, to get on your feet and to be able to do the work, whatever that is for you, on your credit, on showing taxes, on having a job for a couple of years. That's a huge advantage, giving you time that you need. Now, the line item use of the property states how the tenant can use the property. Condition of the property. What condition of the property is in and the responsibility of who takes care of the home. On the utilities, who's responsible for utilities? The maintenance and repairs section covers who's responsible for maintenance and repairs. And then there's an alteration section. That's the statement of permission for the tenant to make alterations and improvements to the property. So on our paperwork and in our homes and our rent-to-own program, We allow everybody to go in and make the home their own. The only thing we ask you not to do is change the roof line, and don't take down any load-bearing walls. Other than that, please make the house your own. There is a smoking policy on smoking, pets policy, and the expectations if you have pets. Now, we do not charge a pet deposit, but it does state in your paperwork that if anything is damaged, or if we do any kind of an inspection and there's any odors or anything like that, that you will professionally have that cleaned. And then, of course, there are some rules and regulations that are expected to be followed, right? You don't want to be interrupting your neighbors. You don't want to be using the house for something that you're not supposed to be using it for. Very, common rules and regulations, just so that they are in writing. Now, subleasing section, that is the terms, renters insurance, requirements, and how to have the written insurance, or the insurance written by your insurance person, so that everybody is covered. And then there's damage to the property. What happens if the tenant damages the property? What happens if you need to surrender the property? There is a section on that. And at the end of the term, or the lease term, if the tenant doesn't exercise the option to purchase, this is the area that is explained in. And along with that, it talks about what happens if the tenant defaults. So some other details about the purchase: property included in the sale, what personal property and fixtures are included. And I touched on this before because it is so important: the exclusivity of option, statement of purchase, and which is exclusive to you, the tenant. There is an inspection section, so when you go to purchase the property and you execute your option, you are buying the property as is. You do have some wording in regards to closing, because you would want to know, well, when do I have to close? In our case, after you provide the executing of your option, you've got 45 days to close on the home. So it covers when will the closing occur, the closing cost, who pays what closing cost, title insurance, who's responsible for obtaining that. All of those things, no matter how you buy a home, all of those things are part of the process. Closing, who pays for what, title insurance. On your financing, you should seek financing to cover the purchase price of the home. In any closing, not just a rent-to-own, when you go to execute your option after the length of the term, you have real estate taxes. So it talks about who's responsible for those real estate taxes when you actually purchase the home. It talks about any existing mortgages. So the seller has to pay off any existing mortgages before or when you buy the house. That's how you get a free and clear title. It does discuss no equitable ownership. So your rental payments do not give you any title interest in the property at all. Disclosures included, such as your lead paint, mold, sex offender registry disclosures, all of those types of disclosures will be given when you close on your property. Not when you do the rent to own up front, but when you actually execute your option. This section is for notices. It notes where notices regarding the agreement should be sent to from the landlord and from the tenant. That way we've got up-to-date addresses, everybody's being communicated to properly. So this is just where your notices will be sent. And the binding effect states that the agreement will be binding on the parties and their heirs. Amendments. Those are statements of how amendments to the agreement can be made. So if we have something that we need to add or remove, instead of redoing all the documents all over again, you simply do an amendment and you add it to the agreement. The dispute section includes how the dispute will be resolved by mediation, arbitration, litigation, or a combination of the above. But you always want to know, okay, if we get into some kind of a dispute, how are we going to take care of that? Then there is a section that indicates, okay, this is the entire agreement. It affirms that the agreement is the entire agreement and supersedes all other agreements. This way, there's nothing that said, oh, well, this person said that and that person said that. You never want to get into a he said, she said. So everything is in writing and it states, okay, this is the agreement. So now that we have an idea on what is the content of a rent-to-own agreement, it will be easy for a potential buyer to understand when purchasing the home. They have to do the rent-to-own first, and then again, you've got that length of time to do the work, get yourself on your feet, do what you need to do, and then you go and you purchase your home after that. So when you go into one of our homes, it is a rent-to-own, which is a rental agreement, and the option to purchase. And then if you execute your option, then you are purchasing the home. Here at Home Buyers Inventory, we make sure that you as a potential homeowner understand all the content and you should know your rights and obligations before signing the agreements. If you have further queries and questions about the contract, we will be pleased to assist you, whatever your needs are. You can visit www.homebuyersinventory.com. You can obtain one of the applications and you can go schedule a viewing for your property. You don't need to fill out an application before you go view. So go to the website, schedule a viewing for one of the properties, and we only have 5 steps to our process. And the first step again is visit the website and schedule a viewing for yourself, and then we will walk you step by step for the rest of the process. You can also visit the website or click the link and get free budget home decorating tips, because again, with our homes at Home Buyers Inventory, we allow you to make the home your own. And if that's something that you're looking for, then visit us and ask us questions as well, because we'll answer them here on the podcast.